Thank you, Yaakov Mascetti, for joining us. Dr. Mascetti is the chair of the Comparative Literature Department at Bar-Ilan University. And we were saying, Ronit and I say all the time, that we're not only talking about diversity, we're enacting it. We love having different voices on our site, and we want to have your voice on our site. We're going to try not only to have written voices, but we'd love you, if you could, first to read your poem.
Would you rather read it in English or in Hebrew, or both?
I'll start with a Hebrew.
Okay.
We're listening.
So, I mean, I'll give a little bit of background first, maybe. I've always, in my very short and unimpressive academic career, I've always very much identified myself with things that Bill said and taught me in the past. And one of them was a major discussion that we were having, I think, towards the end of my doctorate. And then Bill published this book on mourning in Judaism. And he had this quote from, I always use this quote, and I say that it's a quote from a great philosopher of the 20th century, Mick Jagger. I don't want to talk about God. I want to see him in the face, or something like that. So that feeling of angst and need for revelation, for a univocal and immediate revelation of intentions, of divine intentions, has always been very much on my mind. Obviously, then with time, with maturity, and with age, it has gradually shifted into the kind of verbal sphere, and understanding that it's not kind of a face-to-face contact or dialogue, but it's always verbal through words. So that's why I wrote Galeli. It's not tell me, it's reveal to me. Reveal. I want you to reveal to me what it is that it's on your mind, what it is that you're doing, because it's kind of rhetorical and cheesy, but down here we don't really know what's going on. And that was the sense that I was trying to convey. First of all, of anger, of extreme anger, of a very, solid, rooted sense of divinity and, sense of divine presence, but still of anger vis-a-vis that presence. Whatever it is that it's doing, and whatever it is that people are doing with it, it's still something that elicits anger. And then the curiosity, understanding what it is that is revealing itself in these days. So here we go. גללי, עמדתי אתמול בין המון למעטים, בין דגלים והספדים, צופה, בוכה ומקשיב. הפכו אותו לאט ובעדינות, מפנים לסיפור, משבוי לאוהב אדם, אוהד מטייל חייכן. ערב הלוויה עליתי לגג לנשום, לעשן ולחשוב. ממבט אל על אמרתי, נרצחים פה בניך ובנותיך, ואתה שותק. השופט כל הארץ לא עשה משפט. הרי הייתה רפורמה. אתה שותק וגם הוא שותק. שותק ושומע זעקה גדולה. גלה לי מה עומד מאחורי שתיקתך. אל תפחד. לא אשפוט אותך. נוח על משכבך ילד. So that was like the Hebrew version. Bill, do you want to?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful the way you read it in the Hebrew, really.
Yeah.
Read it in English, yeah. Read it in English, yeah.
Tell me, I stood alone among a few, between flags and eulogies, watching, silently listening. They turned him slowly and gently from a face to a story, from abducted to one who loved. A smiling sports fan. The night before the funeral, I climbed to the roof to breathe into smoke. Gazing upwards, I speak. Your sons and daughters are slaughtered, and you stay quiet. The judge of all the earth does not do justice. After all, there was a judiciary overhaul. You're quiet and now so is he. You stay quiet as you hear a great outcry. Reveal to me why you stay quiet. Tell me. I won't judge you. I will not judge you. Yep. And then the dedication, rest in peace, child, to Hersh.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, the dedication.
Well, I mean, I knew Hersh personally because he made Aliyah in 2008, if I'm not mistaken, 2009. And he was my son's age, maybe a few months older. So in Kitab Bet, they went to private lessons. He lived in Makor Chaim, which is one of the outskirts of the Baka enclave. So our kids went to, Yedidia and Hersh, my son Yedidia, my firstborn Yedidia and Hersh went to Bnei Akiva together. They were in English lessons together. Sometimes they went to parties together. Didi was much more of a friend of Aner Shapira, who was they went to Mechina together.
And Hersh Shapiro was another hostage.
Yeah, he was a hero.
He was a
wasn't
hero.
a hostage.
He withstood the attacks of they were crammed like 40-something kids inside this migunit. For 34 minutes, endless minutes, he just kept grabbing these grenades
and throwing them back out
throwing
there.
them back at them until they understood that they had to wait for a few seconds and then throw the grenade, and he was killed by it. But he was in Sayyidat Nachal and a fighter and a poet and a singer and a rapper. His father spoke at the protest on Motzei Shabbat. Moshe Shapira. So anyways, Aner and Hersh were best friends, and Yedidia was also good friends with a third one. They were called the Three Musketeers. Yaniv was also a friend of who spoke at the funeral. Yaniv Netzer, who was a good friend of, he's still a good friend of Yedidia's. So it's like the same circles.
Wow. It just sounds like you're talking about family in a way. It seems like you yourself are in mourning. I mean, you live in proximity to the Goldberg-Polins.
Yeah, that they're in the same neighborhoods. You'll see them around, and we walk to their shiva from our house. It was like 5 minutes away from our house. So it's in the neighborhood is plastered, is covered in Free Hersh posters.
Still
all over the place, all over the place.
Because I see posters for Eden Yerushalmi. Like I live in Tel Aviv, near Kfar Shalem, and I still see them.
Yeah.
Today. So it's I don't think anyone has the guts to just take them off.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like it's disrespectful.
Sure.
It's been there for like 11 months. Just her face. But also not just the mourning. I think you said something, and I think I can tell from your poem just the anger. There's a lot of anger. I mean, it's simmering underneath because, and I think that's the stage that we're at now. I mean, it's this country is, I mean, it's insane. We're going through. We're still going through it. There's just no time for reflection at all. We think that we're reflecting, but we can't really because we're still going through this. And I think your poem, there's a plea, there's anger, there is just, and I think it translates to what we're feeling now.
There was also a
I
touch
go
of
through
politics.
so many stages.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's politics, exactly. Yes.
I was a little uneasy. I sent it to Bill as he's my friend and my mentor, so I sent it to him, but then he said, well, you know what, I'm going to put it on writing on the wall. And then Vicky from Bar-Ilan said, I'm going to put it on the Bar-Ilan website. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? There's some political stuff. There's like a political line.
Yeah, and that's okay. You are allowed to have a political stance, and it doesn't make the what we're feeling less or more. I mean, we're all part of this. I didn't like, I felt it, but I didn't. I mean, I'm on the same side, but still.
Yeah.
To me, it wasn't as blatant as you might think.
I mean, if I can say something else, I mean, Bill asked me, no, you didn't ask me, but I felt that I needed to say that at the very beginning in Hebrew, it goes like this.
Yeah.
In Hebrew, it was they turn him slowly and gently from a face to a story. And years ago, a friend of mine, Chaim, lost his son in a scuba diving accident, and on his 30th, on his shloshim, I asked Bill. He asked me to give a shir and whatever lecture or dvar Torah in shul. And so I said, Bill, what do you think I could talk about? And he said, there's this great Maharal where the Maharal talks about how a person is turned into a story after the death. So I went to look it up, and that was the reference that I was making there.
So say a little bit more. Say a little bit more about that, because you talked about that in the very beginning about revelation and this idea of turning from this panim to the story. Can you just talk more about that and what that means?
Yeah, I mean it starts when we were kids, when Star Wars came out, and when Obi-Wan says to Darth Vader, "If you kill me, I'm going to become so much more powerful than you could possibly believe." So when you kill a person like Hersh with the heaps of symbolism that he has been wrapped up in the past months, he's become this symbol, and I think his dad John said in the eulogy at the funeral, he said, "Yehi zichrecha ma'apecha." May your memory be of revolution. May it be a revolution. So the heritage that we have from this killing, which is basically a brutal execution of a 23-year-old in a tunnel under Rafiach, shot in the head, we should say, that turns into an entire story, a project, an attitude towards life. So, and that is the process that, in your article, you talked about that as mourning, and it's part of it's a collective process of elaboration of grief into something more. Yehi zichrecha ma'apecha, that would have to be understood as political, it's social. Let's just change the hell out of this situation. Let's do
But
something.
it's also, that's what we do as writers, right? I mean, that's the essence of what we do.
Yeah.
We mipanim lesipur. So in a way, I mean, that's our job.
Yeah.
And that's our role. And I think why this line was so powerful to me. Just the idea, oh yeah, okay, so Hirsch, yeah, unfortunately, he became a story, but he's also, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
But you bring him back to life. I just wanted to ask you one thing, because Ronit made me do that. So I read your poem on the radio in South Africa, this religious radio station, right? And as I was reading it, I was thinking like, oh, this is a pretty angry poem. And I think the host might have, made some reference to, the questions of faith that the thing raises. And I pointed out to the host that in many cases, that anger and faith can go together. I mean, I felt that in your piece. So I just wanted to, and what about that? Are anger and faith opposites?
No.
Not in Judaism. Not in Judaism.
Not in Judaism.
I mean, it starts with Abraham when he says, "Ashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat." He's like, he's not only
exactly. Well, that's your piece.
He's not right. So that's obvious. That's the intertextual reference. But that Abraham is not. He's not happy. I mean, you come up to me and you tell me you're going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and what am I supposed to do with that? So I'm going to start fussing about it, and you're.
So what is what? Yeah, go ahead.
You come up to me with a position, with an attitude, and it has nothing to do with a kind of divinity that I'm used to, that I'm adoring here.
But like in the poem, it's that tension where you're trying to get control of, you smoke and you go and you look and you ask, but then there's this anger that keeps on, and you are trying to find, I mean, it's it starts off when you're looking and observing, and then you're actual participant, you're asking a question, you're just, you're so angry, it's like you can't control your emotions anymore. So to me, I mean, as a secular person, that's what I felt there. I mean, religion to me is I mean, yes, it was there, but it was more about just human nature. I mean, it's and it's not resolved at the end. There's no, it's, you're still left with that anger, because that's what we have now. We're very angry.
I'm also very angry with the kind of, sorry, Bill, with the human factor in here, because I mean, even if the Shofet Kol Haaretz were to do justice, the judge of all the world were to do justice, my sense of things is that they would shut him up and say, you're part of the Supreme Court. You are the Supreme Court, and we don't trust the Supreme Court. That was my sense, that the government, with its kind of idolatrous passion of its own power, would probably shut up the Supreme Judge and say, well,
you think Bibi would turn God into a Smolany? He'll gum Smolany.
Probably.
He's also Lefri, right? He's also Lefri.
Where were you all these months?
So really, thank you, Yaakov, for sharing that story. Dr. Yaakov Mascetti of Bar-Ilan University, the Comparative Literature Department. Really great to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.